Hi, I'm Terry Kolath. I'm here with Seth Mendel of Teledora. You probably know him as the man who brings us history, and we're delighted to have him. This time we're talking about a brand new session, the topic World War II. Thank you for joining me, Seth.
Well, it's awfully nice to be here and to talk about World War II.
We are delighted that you started with the Russian czars, introducing yourselves to us as an historian, and then moved right into the wars in the United States, World War I, then we had between the wars, and now we've gotten to World War II.
Yes, that's right. It's a number of sessions and a lot of material, but I think it's something that people are very interested in these days because we unfortunately seem to be surrounded by conflicts throughout the world.
And that was the war to end all wars.
Well, that and the First World War.
Absolutely. Okay, well, as you take us through these sessions, one of the things I appreciate the most is your well thought out and well written descriptions of each session. And that in itself is an education to read in the Academy brochure. But let's start with a general overview. What are your hopes for covering in this 6-session series on World War II?
Well, it's going to be a broad brush stroke, so to speak, because it just the war went for 6 years, if not longer, if you think about the Orient and the Japanese, and so there's just so much material, and of course there's been so much scholarship, so much research, so many books, so many movies.
Right.
The Longest Day, and so what I really am going to do is, I say, a broad brush approach, not trying to do everything in depth. We will do some post holes, interesting things like the Normandy invasion or the Battle of Britain, things like that, but basically to give everybody an overall picture or feeling for the magnitude of the Second World War.
That is a fabulous, fabulous goal, and something that's really important as we look at events in the world today. Now, in our first session, what can we look forward to?
Well, we got our, in the first session, we start right off with Hitler's, the German blitz of Poland, his blitzkrieg, his armored tanks and planes and mobile infantry moving across the frontier into Poland. And of course, the fall of Poland. The Poles had cavalry brigades against these tanks. Actually, the campaign was over in a week, and Warsaw surrendered in 3 weeks. And from there, we moved through that year of, that was September 1st, 1939. And it's a funny situation. When Hitler invaded Poland, he then turned to the Allies being England and France, and said, why should the war continue? Why can't we have peace? But of course, Daladier of France and Chamberlain of England, they'd been through Austria and Czechoslovakia. And so this time with Poland, they had taken up arms. They actually declared war on Germany just 2 days after the invasion of Poland. And so Hitler sent out this plea for peace, believe it or not, thinking he was going to hoodwink the Western Allies. But as I say, they wouldn't bite this time.
The writing was on the wall.
That's right. And so we have this period called the Phony War, the Sitzkrieg, when he didn't attack in the West. The French were ready, the British were ready, and, but there was activity. There was a battle in Finland because I'm probably going into too much detail here on this first phase, but there was activity here on the Eastern Front, because when Hitler went into Poland, he had already signed an agreement with the Russians, and the Russians would get 1/3 of Poland plus the Baltic countries up there along the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, including Finland. And so when he moved into Poland, the Russians moved into those areas. But the Finns, not the plucky Finns, oh no, they stood up against the Russians. And so there was a winter war that went on 39-40, right up there on the edge of the Arctic Circle between the Finns and the Russians.
So much that we can look at that still has repercussions today.
That's right. And so then very quickly in April of 1940, 6 months later, Hitler did attack in the West and swarmed into the Low Countries and isolated the British Expeditionary Force there at Dunkirk. We have the great rescue mission at Dunkirk, which will be fun to talk about and describe. And then into the Battle of France, which was known as Case Red, and then the surrender of France. And so really, that's what we do in the first session.
An action-packed session,
Yes,
as they all
yes,
are.
Right.
I do hope you'll join us. Please take another moment to read these wonderful descriptions of the lectures of Seth Mendel in your current Academy brochure, and join us on Monday for session 1.